What's up everybody, Brian here. I'm down in the gecko lab as usual. Today I'm going to show you guys some of my younger geckos coming up that are going to breed in the upcoming 2021 breeding season. So recently I was going through my grow outs, my holdbacks, and this is about the time of year that I start picking out geckos that are going to breed next spring. Now the way I do this is I go through anything that's about 30 grams or bigger, because those are the geckos that are going to be big enough and old enough to start breeding in early 2021. So the older ones, I usually do two different sets of pairings every year. My beginning of my breeding season is late January, early February, and those are all the previous year's breeders as well as the oldest of the new breeders get paired up then. And then I do a second round of pairings, usually in mid-April, and that's usually the geckos that are either newer breeders or older breeders that were taking a longer break that season, and stuff that's just getting up to size. Those all get paired in April. So this time of year in late August is when I generally go through holdbacks and start picking out, okay, what am I going to hold on to, what's going to get moved into the breeding room, and what direction are my projects going next year. So that's what I've been doing this week. I went through all my holdbacks and I picked out 70 geckos. I'm gonna have 70 new breeders next year. Now I am gonna get rid of some of my current breeders, so I will increase my numbers a little bit next year, but I'm also gonna get rid of some current breeders that will get replaced by newer, younger animals, different projects going in different directions, that kind of thing. So with these 70 geckos I came up with, I think it was 17 or 18 new breeding groups that are all going to be put together. And I wanted to show you guys a couple of the nicest ones today. I'm going to focus on the Lily White Axanthic groups, obviously, as you can guys see in these cages. I'm going to show you these guys, get you excited like I'm excited about some of next year's upcoming breeders. In this cage over here, I've got 3 Lily White Het Axanthic females and the visual Axanthic male that they'll be paired with. And in this cage over here, I've got 4 visual Axanthic females and the Lily White Het Axanthic male that they will be paired with. So just a reminder to everybody, or those of you that don't know on how the genetics work, Axanthic is a recessive trait, so that means both parents have to carry at least one copy of the gene for you to have a chance of producing visual offspring, whereas Lily White is a incomplete dominant trait, so only one parent needs to have a copy of the gene. So that's why all of these either have every one of these geckos has the Axanthic gene, and on this side the females are all Lily Whites, on this side the male is a Lily White. So the results from these two breeding groups will be the same, even though the males and females are flopped on the ratios on each side. Let's get into having a closer look at some of these geckos. I want to show you guys what we're working with because I'm super excited for next year. It's gonna be a big year. I can't wait, and these guys are a big part of the reason why. So first up, I'm going to start with this cage here. Now this is a 1.4 breeding group, and when you see that on breeder forums or Facebook or hear breeders talk about that, what that means is the first number before the decimal is the male and the second number is the number of females. So if you see somebody, usually you'll see it in for sale posts. If they say, I've got a 2.3 group of these geckos for sale, that means 2 males, 3 females. If you see 2.3.6, the third one is geckos that are too young to be sexed. So 2.3.6 is 2 males, 3 females, 6 unsexed geckos. So this is a 1.4 group. The way that I arrange these is there'll be 2 females in each cage, and then the male bounces back and forth. Once a week, the male will go from one cage to the next cage, and he rotates between the 2 cages all breeding season long. That's the way that I keep the majority of my breeders. They're either kept in a group all the time, or a male that's breeding to more than 2 females will jump back and forth like that. So this group, to break it down for you guys, the male in this group is my favorite Lily White Het Axanthic male that I have right now. I'm super excited to get this guy breeding. He's real high pattern, a whole lot of white all over his sides, very high pattern, very high contrast. Absolutely beautiful male, that solid dorsal. This guy's going to produce some killer kids. I absolutely know it. And with him, the reason I'm so excited about this group is these are 4 of my favorite female Axanthics. 3 of them are pinstripe Axanthic females. I really debated which group I was going to put these girls into. I wasn't sure if I was going to pair them up with another really nice pinstripe het Axanthic male and use these girls to try and create more pinstripe Axanthics, or if I was going to use them in the Lily White project. I debated about this quite a bit, and in the end I ended up going with the Lily White het Axanthic male for these girls, mainly because I didn't have a pinstripe het Axanthic male that I thought was high enough quality for these girls. I had a couple 100% pinstripe het Axanthic males, but I really wanted a male that had lateral striping too, so I could try and do a Axanthic quad stripe, and I just didn't have the right male to try and make that project a reality this coming year, so I ended up going with this grouping here. As you may be realizing, a couple of these girls you guys would have seen in different holdback videos I've done before, so you might recognize a couple of them, but this is my first group, a 1.4 group. These guys will be in 2 different tubs like I said, and all of these geckos are about ready to breed size now, so they will be getting paired early next year. So about this time, a year from now, we'll have a number of hatchlings from this group already hatched out. I can't wait. This is one of my most exciting groups. I'm so excited for these guys. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited to see what they're going to produce like I am? Because I bet you are, but I bet you're not as excited as me. Alright, next up is the second breeding group I wanted to show you today. Now these guys are a little bit smaller. The male is about the same size as the male in the last group, so he'll be ready to breed in January, but the females here are a little bit smaller than the females in the last group, and I'll probably give them until April. I generally like to get the geckos up to 45 grams and at least 2 years old before I breed the females. So these ones are probably going to get those extra couple months to April just to make sure that they're older, they're healthier, their calcium reserves are built up so they can produce nice healthy eggs. A lot of times with first year breeders, they have trouble and they struggle laying viable fertilized eggs. So it's not uncommon for a first year breeding girl to lay just unviable dud eggs all year long, which can be really discouraging to first-time breeders and really discouraging to experienced breeders with really high-end projects like this, when you get so excited about a group like this together and then you get no good eggs out of it. It's devastating. So a good way to combat that is to not rush your geckos into breeding, because when you rush them into breeding too young, you're much more likely to get dud eggs out of them. So for that reason, I will more than likely give these guys until at least April next year before they start breeding, just to make sure those females are ready and they produce as well as they possibly can in their first season. Now let's get into these geckos. I'm super excited about this one. This male I picked for this group because he's one of the more unique looking Axanthic males that I had growing up. He's a very unique kind of light, almost steely bluish gray color, and the reason I picked him specifically for this group is because for an Axanthic, he has a lot of pattern on his sides. He's got a lot of white spots, some big portholes on his sides, and I'm kind of banking on that translating well into a lily white Axanthic. I think that will help have a lot of pattern, and hopefully some real high patterned lily white Axanthics will come out of this group. As you can see, 2 of the females in this group are also very, very high pattern, high coverage lily white females. So I thought that those 2 girls, especially with this boy with some white on his sides, would be a really good match, and I'm hoping they'll do some really high pattern Axanthic lily whites. The 3rd female in this group is obviously gorgeous as well. She's not quite as high patterned as the other 2 girls are, but she's an incredibly beautiful animal. She is also het Axanthic, so she'll be a great addition to this group. This one's only a 1.3 group, so this boy will only breed with 3 females versus the other boy who's going to breed with 4. So a slightly smaller group, but absolutely gorgeous group all the same, and I cannot wait to see what they produce. Alright, well there's a good look at a couple of our new lily white Axanthic breeding groups for next season. I am really, really excited for this project. Obviously, I talk about it all the time. It's like half my videos are about just this project, as you guys know, but next year is going to be a breakout year for this project. I've really tried to set this up in the right way with the Axanthic project. When I first got that, I feel like I didn't keep as much animals. I didn't build the project. I didn't expand it the way that I should have when I started selling them. I didn't quite handle it right, and that was a learning experience for me. So with this offshoot of the project, I've really tried to focus on building a good foundation for it to build the project up, and I think I've done that. I was really hoping this year I had 6 females breeding in this project, and I was really hoping that next year I could get that number to 20, and I was fortunate enough with my productions in the last 2 years and the animals that I held back and the way that I've structured it, that it looks like I'm actually hit 30 females breeding in this project next year. The entire project is almost 40 animals strong at this point. So it's gonna be very exciting next year. It's gonna be an absolute breakout year for these guys. I can't wait to see what I can produce. It's gonna be a good time. Next summer is gonna be gangbusters. I can't wait. So I hope you guys are excited too. I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you enjoyed getting a good look at these guys. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I am Brian, Altitude Exotics, that's /AE Geckos on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to give us a follow. Tons of good stuff on there. I appreciate it, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I will see you soon.